On 5 News, tackling the terror threat. More heavily armed police to protect the capital. But does seeing officers like this on the street make you feel safe or worried?
We've all seen the news. We've all seen what happened in Nice. We've all seen what's happening in Paris, Belgium, Germany. People know that's happening, and that worries them. I think they want to be reassured the British police are ready.
Also this evening, shaking up the energy market. There's a cap on prepay meters to help the poorest, but will the changes see more customers switching? Drama at Dubai airport as an Emirates plane crash lands and explodes. 24 Britons are among the hundreds on board who walk away unscathed, and 61 million reasons to celebrate, especially for the Welsh mum recovering from cancer.
I just felt like I cheated death in a way. I just feel so lucky.
Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. If you visit London or live in the capital, you're going to see a lot more armed police on the streets, 4 times as many. It's because of the recent terror attacks in other parts of Europe, a threat which the Metropolitan Police Chief says would be foolish to ignore. Other areas in England, Wales and Scotland can also expect to see more police officers carrying weapons. Julian Drucker has this report.
They are armed to deal with the dangerous. Hundreds more of these SAS-style elite officers are to patrol the busiest streets of our nation's capital. The Metropolitan Police says the increase isn't due to any specific warning of terror, but a response to Europe's spate of bloody attacks. This officer, who we can't name, told me he's prepared for the very worst.
No one gets to operate at this level without a degree of experience. I can't say what threat we're going to face, but I can say that we'll be determined in how we approach that, and we'll be fast in our response, and we'll deal with it to the best of our capability and training allows us.
The Met says using motorbikes to tackle terrorists will help bring that faster response. But will the sight of 600 extra specialist officers end up alarming the people they're protecting?
Do you think members of the public will be reassured or even perhaps scared if they see this kind of thing?
You've always got this dilemma, haven't you? If you say nothing about it, you appear complacent. You're doing all these things you don't tell us as members of the public. If we tell people, you say, well, how does that make them more worried? I think it's the right time to reassure.
A further 900 firearms officers will be deployed across England and Wales, while Scotland will get an extra 90. But it's at Britain's biggest landmarks where fears of an attack are more heightened. Yet only some at the London Eye today welcomed additional armed officers.
I think people would feel more secure if there was a police presence and it was obvious.
The more the better, the safer you feel. The more presence, they're showing that they're on our side, I guess.
This is such a lovely space, having people in uniforms, I think that would diminish it.
But one former armed officer for the Met told me the armed strategy has its flaws.
If you put a man outside a building or in a particular venue with a firearm, visibly there for the public to see, he's also visibly there for the terrorists to see. They'll either avoid him or he'll become a target. So, you know, it's a cleft stick, really. I can understand what the Commissioner is trying to achieve, but if we really want to try and snare these people, we've got to go at it in more than one way.
It looks more like an action movie than a police training exercise. But here, counter-terrorism officers are patrolling the Thames. On water and on land, it's a show of strength from the country's biggest police force that's designed to deter.
And Julian, when will we see this show of strength on the streets?
Sian, the issue is how quickly can this expertise be deployed onto our streets? The Police Federation, the main police union, warns it could be 2 years. That is how long this elite training takes. Can the UK cope, given what we've seen in Europe over the summer? And is London the correct focus? Nice has shown that the terrorists don't need a capital city to wreak terror. All they need is a crowd. And crowds, of course, can be found anywhere.
Julian, thank you. Security has been stepped up at one of Britain's biggest army bases after a possible abduction attempt. Police were called to Aldershot Garrison in Hampshire this morning after reports of 2 men who were acting suspiciously. It comes just 2 weeks after an alleged kidnap attempt at RAF Marham. Let's talk to Dominic Reynolds, who joins us in the studio now. What more do we know, Dom?
Well, Sian, just after 8:30 this morning, a civilian who works on the base called the police. And they did that because they saw two people acting suspiciously. Those are the words the police used. They were within the confines of the base and they were in a blue Renault Clio. Police say there isn't actually anything to suggest a crime's been committed, but they want to know what those men were doing there. And they want to hear from anybody who might have seen that blue Renault Clio.
Fortnight ago, we had that alleged kidnap attempt, tense times on army bases, I should wonder.
Well, exactly. And you might say no crime has been alleged to be committed here. What's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that issue of context. We know that in the past, soldiers have been targets for terror. And exactly as you say, 2 weeks ago in Norfolk, this attempted abduction of a serviceman. Last week, police released 2 e-fits of the people they suspect were responsible. Now, was that incident terror-related? Was this one terror-related? Police say they just don't know, but there is clearly a level of concern from the army. They've instructed, reportedly, soldiers in Aldershot not to go in or out of the base wearing their uniforms today.
Dominic, thank you. We're always being told to switch our energy suppliers if we think we're getting a bad deal. But if you're on a prepaid meter, you're often charged more and you can't change to a cheaper option. Well, from next April, those 4 million customers on a meter will be protected by a price cap brought in by the industry regulator Ofgem. It says the move will protect the vulnerable. Critics say much more needs to be done. Andy Bell reports.
Danny Coakley pays for his gas and electricity by topping up his prepay meter. It's been a constant nagging worry, which has even changed the way he lives his life, especially when it turns cold.
Well, I don't want to go home in the evening because it's just going to cost me money. What else can I do? Where can I go where it's warm and I just do something rather than sitting at home and the money just being spent whilst I'm kind of sitting there doing nothing.
Now the energy regulator has said that prepay system will be capped, saving Danny and those like him an average £75 a year. But a recent investigation found about 70% of consumers are on the wrong tariff, paying too much. So why didn't the regulator order suppliers to tell their customers that?
I want to make it as easy as possible to inform consumers, and ultimately that'll get them the better deal.
But the responsibility would still lie with the consumers when you could be making the companies do much more.
We are making the companies do much more. We're requiring them not to confuse customers, and I'm saying very clearly if they treat customers badly, we will enforce it against them. I accept the majority of consumers still make a choice, but we make choices about everything we buy every day.
The so-called Big Six energy companies supply about 90% of consumers. Smaller firms say the measures announced today will just continue what they call a tale of two markets.
They'll first help the engaged side, the switching side of the market. That's not the side of the market that needs help. The disengaged, those that don't look to the market to see if there's a better deal, are the ones that need to be helped.
Not surprisingly, the big companies take a different view.
The customers that switched in June this year, 33% of them switched to small or medium-sized suppliers. So this market is changing, and it's changing in front of our eyes.
Smart meter displays are portable devices that can sit anywhere.
The plan is so-called smart meters will soon cut bills anyway, but until then the advice is get onto the website, and if you're paying too much, switch. Andy Bell, 5 News.
The Home Affairs Select Committee is urging the Royal Navy to help patrol the UK's borders. It says there is a worryingly low number of boats available to protect against terrorists and people smuggling. There are currently just 3 Border Force patrol boats protecting more than 7,000 miles of British coastline. And 3 executive members of the UK Independence Party have resigned this afternoon after the favourite to succeed Nigel Farage was barred from the leadership contest. The frontrunner, Stephen Wolfe, submitted his application too late. The winner will be selected from 6 candidates and announced next month. 300 air passengers and crew, including 24 from the UK, had to be rescued moments before an Emirates flight from India burst into flames at Dubai airport. The aircraft had crash-landed and thick black smoke could be seen billowing from the runway. A firefighter died while putting out the flames, as Peter Lane reports.
Just moments after the passengers and crew evacuated a huge explosion. The blast throwing what appears to be a section of wing into the air. The Emirates passenger planes stricken and billowing smoke, onlookers stunned. One described seeing the successful evacuation.
They did get off, we saw these people, and you know, the first few people were running, and I don't bloody blame them, that thing was going to blow. And then they all got off safely, and then all the fire trucks were there was foam, they were doing flowing foam, water, and then the whole left side that it landed on, the side that it was on, it just went bang, you know.
Incredible scenes as passengers fled along the runway, the burning plane behind them. 300 people had been on board. Incredible scenes as passengers fled along the runway, the burning plane behind them. 300 people had been on board, 24 of them UK citizens. Remarkable that no one on the plane was seriously injured. But just a short while ago, the airline chairman held a press conference where he confirmed that one firefighter was killed tackling the blaze. The plane's manufacturer, Boeing, says it has a team ready to travel to Dubai to assist the crash investigation. Whatever the cause, all those involved know there could have been a much bigger death toll. Peter Lane, 5 News.
And still to come on the programme. To floss or not to floss? The burning question that seems to be splitting the dentists. And meet the family who've just won £61 million. And that's not the only reason they consider themselves lucky. All that and more after the break. Hello and welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Gadgets that children keep in their bedrooms could be putting them at serious risk of a fire. A survey suggests many are leaving their laptop on the duvet or even sleeping with their phones charging under the pillow, which means they could overheat and become dangerous very quickly. Our health correspondent, Catherine Jones, reports.
OK, so the smoke alarm was blaring. I came out of the bedroom to see smoke coming from the boy's bedroom. So I immediately came in here and saw Brandon's pillow was on fire.
Actual flames as well as smoke?
Actual flames, yeah.
A lucky escape for Dwayne Blanchard, who'd been alone in his house asleep when his stepson Brandon's pillow caught light.
After I'd put the fire out, I saw the devices actually sunk into the pillow where they'd melted.
Brandon had left his portable speaker on the pillow, plugged into the wrong charging cable.
I was very shocked and I didn't know it could happen.
I was angry at first, but you know, that's natural instincts. And then we just warned him not what to use and what not to use and where to use it.
Like most kids, Brandon has a lot of gadgets. On average, a child's bedroom nowadays houses 10 different electrical devices. And a survey of 10 to 18-year-olds has found half of them have left a device charging on their bed. 2 out of 5 had charged a phone under their pillow at night, while a quarter had used a cheap, unbranded charger, which can be more liable to overheat.
Parents really need to wise up to what's going on and what actually could be putting their children or themselves and the rest of their families in danger and put their lives at risk. And we have seen families suffer devastating consequences when things like this have happened.
Brandon and his family have now changed their habits. The advice is to throw out any cheap chargers, to put charging devices on a hard surface, and to avoid leaving anything charging unattended or overnight.
Everything that needs charging, phones, tablets, MP3 players, speakers, they all get charged where I can see them. My partner as well, she turns all the plugs off at night. You can't have anything on overnight. So it's just better to be safe than sorry.
An electrical fire can start in the blink of an eye. And charging a device on a bed, under a pillow or using the wrong cable is an unnecessary risk that no one should be taking. Catherine Jones, 5 News.
Barack Obama has accused Donald Trump of being unfit to succeed him as American president. Speaking at a White House event with the leader of Singapore, he questioned why the Republican Party hasn't disowned him.
The Prime Minister of the Republic of Singapore.
But as Donald Trump continued his campaign in Virginia, he hit back at Obama, saying his time in the White House had been a disaster. He described Obama as weak and ineffective and maybe the worst president in American history. Now, if you have visited your dentist recently, the chances are they've recommended flossing to you. For decades, it's been seen as key to keeping our gums healthy and our teeth clean too. But now there's new research, both here and in the States, suggesting it doesn't really do much good after all. Jessica Omery reports.
We all know we should brush, rinse and floss our teeth daily if we want to protect our gums and avoid fillings. At least that's what we've been told. There's little scientific proof that regular diligent flossing makes any difference at all. Health officials in the US have quietly dropped their flossing advice, and the NHS is considering following suit.
Hello, how are you? Very well, yourself? Thank you.
But when we get in that chair and open wide, will the dentist know whether we've been flossing or not?
It's very important to understand that gum disease is tackled by good oral hygiene, but a toothbrush doesn't reach all the areas. So that's the importance of the flossing or the little brushes to clean in between. If plaque is left in between the teeth for long term, this can cause inflammation.
The dental floss industry is thought to be worth around £1.5 billion worldwide, but proof of its effectiveness doesn't match the spending. 25 studies found the evidence of its benefits weak, very unreliable, and of very low quality. So are people listening to the current guidance?
Do you think it makes a difference?
I think it definitely makes a difference, yeah. It means that you need to go back to the dentist a lot less.
Every time I go to the dentist, they tell me it's really good for me, and I guess it gets the bits out that you can't really get with a toothbrush. So, yeah, I guess I should probably do it more often than I do.
Gums used to bleed and now floss, they don't bleed anymore.
For now, the NHS advice remains in place. Floss once a day to protect your gums and avoid the dentist spotlight. Jessica Omery, 5 News.
Now to a family with a lot of reasons to smile. Exactly a week ago today, 53-year-old Sonia Davis from Monmouthshire had just come out of cancer surgery in the United States. Learning the tumour had been removed, she called her daughter, telling her to buy a lottery ticket because she was feeling lucky. Well, lucky is an understatement because 2 days later, she and her family scooped £61 million in the Euro Millions draw. Minnie Stevenson went to meet them.
Keeping it very much in the family. Introducing the new millionaires from Monmouthshire in South Wales. Meet the parents, Keith and Sonia, their daughters, Courtney and Stephanie, plus Stephanie's boyfriend, Steve. Collectively, they are now £61 million richer, thanks to a family syndicate win on the Euro Millions. So once the nerves and the bubbles had settled, the Davies told me what they did when they found out the news.
Now, is it true that when you'd won, somebody took a selfie with the ticket just to make sure that you didn't lose it? Because that's what I would do. Tell us a bit about that.
We never take selfies. We don't take selfies,
right.
but yeah, we did. It was a bit of a spare moment, really. Once we realised the value of that piece of paper, we didn't want to lose it, and it became a reality that we could lose it. So we needed some evidence that we did have it.
And they told me they are feeling beyond lucky. Only 2 days before, their mum Sonia had been told by doctors her life had been saved after having throat cancer surgery. In her words, she was onto a winning streak and so insisted the family bought tickets for a syndicate.
After I had my operation last week, I felt that I was the luckiest woman in the world. I didn't think life could. Well, it can't really get better than that, but as you say, to suddenly find that you've won the lottery as well and just what it can mean to all of us and those around us, you just can't believe it.
No, we felt we would already run the lottery, so to win it twice is amazing.
So now they are £61 million richer as a family and £12 million richer each. First on the winnings wish list is, wait for it, an electric toothbrush.
I thought, why not treat yourself? So I found one online and it was actually half price as well, so I'm still saving money.
The Davies family, proof that you can be both modest and millionaires. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
Many congratulations to them. Now, before we go, let's have a quick look at what's coming up on 5 News tonight. We're going to hear more about that plan to put more armed police on the streets of London. They're already, of course, a familiar sight in France, which has seen several terrorist attacks in recent months. So can they foil attacks here in Britain? And we hear from the team of refugees whose incredible journeys have taken them to Rio to compete in the Olympics. All that at 6:30 with Danny. But that's it from me. Sian Welby has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Danny's back at 6:30. Thanks for watching tonight. Goodbye for now.